the bullet race. You know, I'm just going to show you a slide. I'm going to run this backwards. I'm going to tell you what the solution is right off the bat. Then we're going to work backwards and keep talking how we got to the solution. That way, in case we run out of time, you already know where it needs to go and who to call and who to need to copy. So this is nothing more than just a copy class. So this is the bastard child of egress, out of sight, out of mind. And the cure is very simple. It took 75 years to screw this up. And you guys have your own internal cure, right? Everybody here knows that in most fire departments, the chief tells all the guys coming in, well, the gray-haired guys tell the new guys, in case of fire, don't use the... See? So there's already code for this. Don't fix it, just don't use it. So that's what the problem is. So now, fire escapes have been out there, and everybody sort of said, you know what, if we can't get a handle on it, just stop using it. So what we need to do is, we need to get a door-to-door program where you guys walk into every building now, knock on the doors and tell the tenants the same thing. In case of fire, don't use the fire escape. So if that's going to be the cure, that's all you guys have to do. Your firemen already know not to use it, just now let's get the public aware not to use it, or let's use some of these programs. My job is here is to show you some of the things that you're going to have. That doesn't mean you need more work. You guys already are understaffed, and you're not overpaid, right? And so what happens is we need to make something that fire escapes find you. You don't find fire escapes anymore. They're going to come and find you. And we're going to work with fire prevention, building department, housing, health department, and basically these things will find these people, and then you'll get the eventual notice that something's happening at this address. Okay? So let's start first of all right here in the book. Okay? Actually, if you want to watch this one piece, this happened in just this past year. In 2014, there was more activity, fire escape-wise, than I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. And a lot of it was always tragic activity and tragic events, right? So if that light is down, that light is down. This is in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Firefighters were taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. That earlier tonight, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because if you look to a building and you see children and mothers hanging up in front of the fire escape, smoke swirling around it, and that's scary, scary stuff. They got up in there, the ladders up, and they said nobody got there. Fire escape was very people hanging up the fire escape. They couldn't get up. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape. Well, about 50 people were displaced inside the building. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in except for one unit where the fire was in. They said, that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, Odyssey to Bridgeport, News 8.
Isn't that great? So, you know, every fire escape failed, and they let everybody back in the building at the end of the night. And you saw in that photograph, the child, you know, and an 8-year-old child. Your 8-year-old child is coming down a fire escape ladder, which, by the way, did not want to work, because it's supposed to come down to the ground and hit the ground. So there was an 8-year-old child that you teach what? How to jump? 10 to 12 feet to the ground? And how many people? You had people stuck on the fire escape in the back, you had people stuck on the fire escape in the front. So when they got there with all those nice shiny red trucks, fighting a fire or a rescue mission?
Rescue.
So right now, everybody's in rescue mode, whereas what do fire escapes do? Are they there for you, or are they there for the clients to self-egress out of it? Self-evacuate. So all of a sudden, how many minutes does a fire need to fully engulf a whole building? And get even worse, so that when you guys go in with your gas mask, what happens now? Now you're giving that fire 3 to 5 minutes because you spent time taking ladders off your truck, getting the ladders on the truck, because the ladders that are on the fire escape don't come down anymore. So after you finally get everybody off, now who do they send into the building to go fight the fire? It's already got 5 minutes on you now. Right? So at the end, like I said, hey, everything worked out. We put everybody back in the building except for that one fire, that one apartment that burned down. This is common. That, you know, the fire escape. So if you don't have your second means of egress, what's supposed to happen on that building? Everybody out. You don't have a second means of egress. I went to this fire escape 6 months later. I investigated this building because they finally got around to having it inspected. The ownership did. Every fire escape had life safety issues. 6 months to a year later, they still haven't fixed anything. So these things happen. So let's talk about the book. Let's start on all the pages. So again, I'm going to tell you what cures are, and then we're going to work backwards and we're going to fill it in. So as you can see here, page 1, we can PDF form or Word form, and then you can eliminate anything that's on here if you don't want anybody's name on here. And you can put your own information. So this is a sample that we did for the city of Lowell, like a sample city. So we can have if we have a model city here, we would do this for you. We'd make one of these up for you. And of course, eliminate any and all information associated with, National Firescape Association, so it'd just be your city names and phone numbers and everything, right? But here's the key. If you read the first part, it says inspection. The firescapes must be examined by a design professional or others acceptable to the building official. So what's it say on there? It said it gives you the guidelines of what that inspector is supposed to do. What's number 2? Number 2 says you're a repair vendor. Hey, repair vendor, there's some guidelines that we want you to follow with the guidance of your design professional. What's number 3? Number 3 says paint. Painting, it says that the EPA said in 2010, all firescapes older than 78 have lead on them, which means what? Can you bring a flame to anything that has lead? So all the welding guys, can they show up at firescapes anymore and put Band-Aids on firescapes like they've been doing for 50 years? And do they remove the rust when they Band-Aid with a welding rod? No. So 98% of all the firescapes in the U.S. are bolted and riveted firescapes. Were they ever meant to be welded or repaired with a weld, or just pop that rivet, pop that bolt, put a new bolt back in? That's all they were ever made. So the EPA now doesn't allow. So if you are driving along, you see somebody pulling welding cables up to a fire escape, what's going to happen? Well, the same thing happened in Boston. They just did that this summer. You guys heard 2 firemen died on a windy day because the guys were welding on a fire escape. We're going to show that today. Got it? All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, let's talk about lead safe. Well, the EPA just says you can't bring a flame. Okay? Number 3, we're going to talk about OSHA. OSHA says that during 1910.37, which we'll note, and you need to note it on your documentation, OSHA says that during renovations, alterations, and repairs of any building, you must maintain 2 means of egress that are certified. And if your second means of egress, which is usually an external fire escape, is compromised in any way, it doesn't shut down the site. Scaffolding can be ordered that meets the building and the fire department's requirements with full staircases inside, and they can continue working. But that fire escape is taken out of the equation. So you either get your permit because you have 2 means of egress, or you get your permit because you've ordered scaffolding so you can have 2 means of egress. We'll talk about that today. This is a confidence test. A confidence test is not an opinion affidavit. It's not, hey, I think it looks all right. We're not wearing my sunglasses that day from a design professional or an inspector. It's not an opinion. This is a checklist. Now, they brought me into Seattle when I made this for them because there wasn't one. So I had to create one because some of the stuff had to be invented. And you'd think that if did anybody get in September, the NFPA 100 Years of Fire Escape magazine? In September, they put it out, celebrating 100 years of fire escape. And we got the article, and so fire escapes have been around for 100 years, and nobody's ever put together a confidence test for it. So only after 4 people almost fell to their death, nobody died. But from a fire escape, so I created a confidence test that says that all design professionals and others acceptable to the building official need to fill out a checklist item that says there is no rust, there is nothing compromised. The welds have been either x-rayed or load tested. The through bolt into the building has been investigated. So this is a confidence test. So if you go online right now, you don't have to copy this. I don't have to send you this. You go online to Seattle or Portland, you type in fire prevention, you go to their website, they have not only confidence tests for this, they have confidence tests for sprinklers, for alarms, for all, steal everything. Don't just steal this one, steal everything they got in there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Exams. When you have a fire escape that it's going to be looked at, you want photos. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to put it in a pretty formatted form like this. I need 4 per page from the design professional or others acceptable to the building official, sent to me in hard copy and in an email form. So you don't have to go all the way down to whatever building they're talking about, because in your office, your iPhone and your computer, you can just look at the problem and say, you know what, that looks like a mess. So everybody that is an investigator, they all have a digital camera and a digital phone, and believe me, they can give you the photos you need. Anything over so many cubic feet, what is it, 30,000 here, 32, 35 cubic, need design professional oversight. It's all on your forms. Every state has these forms already. So if you're dealing with a 5 or 10-story building, you need to have engineer oversight while they're fixing that fire escape. This right here is what is the criteria to fix a fire escape, not to patch weld it. You know, if you've got rust in the connection, what do you got to do? You got to open it up, remove 100% of that rust. You got to wire brush both ends of the metal. You got to spray primer that metal, and then before you put that back together, you inject it with 35 to 50 year silicone so you can encapsulate it and get a minimum of a 10-year warranty on all your repair work. What about the surface rust? Like any rusty bolt, what do you do when you bring it into port? You throw some guy over and you give him what? A scraper and a paintbrush, because that's surface rust. Can a fire escape that has surface rust be load tested? The answer is yes, because it's still going to get painted. Can a fire escape with internal rust and any of its connections be load tested? The answer is no. So this is two things. Fire escape must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. If they're kept painted, you can have the owner do his own painting, scrape it and paint it. In some cases, the EPA even gets into that. If an owner's going to do his own fire escape, but we'll cross that bridge at another time. This right here is a Boston affidavit. This is what the city of Boston wants you to submit in the city of Boston. So that in case the fire escape is good, there's one problem in the city of Boston. They let people with a G3 license, and I have one, fix a fire escape and sign off on your own work. How great is that? And then you sign a thing that says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with building code. What's that mean? The fox in the hen house or what? So let's do that. I'm trying to get all electricians and plumbers to join my side and everybody sign off on their own work to make it easier for all the inspectors. Got it? So that's an opinion affidavit. By the way, this is what you're asking for now. Every time you guys ask for a design professional to tell you that the fire escape is okay, he's giving you an opinion and you look for this. He writes this at the very last page. To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with the code. It's ready for its intended use. Was there a load test? Was there a critical investigation or evaluation of any kind? Or was this an eyeball test? Eyeball test will put firemen and tenants on the ground. Fast, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how fire escapes. They're 100 years old. Any new innovations to fire escapes in 100 years? None. The way I built one today and the way they built one in the 1900s is the same exact way. And they've been building fire escapes since 1850. We're going to talk about catwalks. You know that the code says that all means of egress must be complete to grade. So when you see a fire escape ladder that is 8 feet from the ground, is that the code, or did somebody forget the last portion of it? So the code says you can't have a fixed piece no more than 8 feet off the ground, because there's a continuation of that using a cantilevered ladder or a cantilevered stair. But so some people read it to that point, and so a lot of fire escapes out there make grandma jump 8 feet. Got it? So all fire escapes. So, and over roofs, you go out a window onto a flat roof full of snow, you're supposed to go to a corner and jump 10 feet down. Again, all fire escapes must have continuous walkway to a public way. And the last 8 feet has to be a drop ladder or a cantilevered ladder. If it's going to be cantilevered and it's in an alleyway, now you got to bring it up 12 to 14 feet. Because now trash trucks are going to come down and rip those things to the ground. But in certain areas, you can have the last piece of the fixed ladder 8 feet. But now you must have a slide ladder coming down. If it's grandfathered in, because you can't build ladders anymore. Okay? We're even going to talk about cantilevers. And that people are still building fire escapes today. So remember the code. Any new construction can have a fire escape on it. New construction, dig a hole in the ground, brand new. But can you guys include fire escapes in that? Nope. Anytime you build a brand new structures, no fire escapes at all. How about pre-existing structures? Can you make fire escapes one of the solutions? After you've exhausted all means of putting it inside. Can you have fire escapes? So fire escapes are around because a lot of people are keeping their buildings. And how long can you maintain an existing fire escape as the day it was originally installed? Without any modifications to make it 42, without any modifications to make the bars 4 inches. How long can you maintain a pre-existing fire escape? For the life of the building. Okay? Let's talk about these tags. City of Seattle. Every fire escape has a tag. So when the firemen are running in the middle of the night, and this is to combat the, in case of fire, don't use the fire escape. So you're running down a smoky alleyway, and you get to a fire escape in Seattle and in Portland, and there's a white tag attached 7 to 10 feet off the ground. I'm going to show you what one of those look like. And it's white. What do the firemen do? Do they need to wait for the truck, get the ladder out of the truck? Or they just get on it, do whatever they have to do. Get on it. If it has a yellow, what's it mean? It's under maintenance. It's got some deficiencies, but there's no life safety concerns. If it's got a red, what do you got? What's the issue? It's an empty building, because if it's got a red and they still have people in it, who's liable? Besides the building owner. The city, if you allow a building that doesn't have a second means of egress to be continuously occupied, what happens? Now, if they have a fire escape that's bad and it's got a red, can we set up some scaffolding and have some temporary means of egress so they can keep their building open? So don't have to necessarily shut down buildings. Your first card that you pull is scaffolding to basically negate the need of that fire escape. And on the inside, just block it off any windows so the fire escape, you block it off, and you create an alternative means of egress. Okay? On the back, what you have there is what happened in 1972 in the city of Boston, which had the IBC code. Fire escapes must be evaluated, tested, and certified, and they forgot about it for so long, and it wasn't until this fireman almost lost his life. That picture there is a Pulitzer Prize for that picture. But the woman had to die in order for the guy to get that shot. The niece survived. The fireman who was waiting for the truck ladder to come over grabbed it with one hand and saved himself. So if you got this book, put it in your office somewhere in case somebody wants to argue with you why fire escapes shouldn't be a big deal. But they are the bastard child of egress. It was only then, after this collapse, that they put in the 5-year rule. Because prior to that, and still in today, there is no 5-year rule. Other than the rule that just came out of the IFC for 2012, which says that all buildings now in the U.S. must be inspected every 5 years. We'll talk about that code today. How many of you are aware that 2012 IFC said that all fire escapes, all buildings with fire escapes must be inspected every 5 years? How many were aware of that? See? Nobody knew. You know how I found out? I was in Utah teaching a class on fire escape collapses. And somebody bring it up. So it's not like we always know. Some of this stuff has to be sort of injected back into certain groups so you guys can get the word out. This is Portland. If you go on the internet right now, this is Portland. If you guys go online right now to any internet, you type in fire escape issues, Portland, Oregon. Everything I'm about to tell you that's in this book, because I've taught there for 10 years. I've worked with their fire department and fire prevention, primarily fire prevention for 10 years. They finally introduced this 2 to 3 years ago, and now it's a state. What you're seeing here is what was introduced into their state code. So if you want to know how to fix fire escapes, low test fire escapes, everything, well, everything that we've ever done, they finally got it into the state code. So one state down, 49 to go. So I don't have to tell you what to do, just go copy Oregon. Stu White, say Stu, tell me all the problems I'm going to have. Who's going to spit first, who's going to kick second, and who's... And so, again, the wheel is already invented. Just go copy it. All right? So everything here is happening somewhere. Is it happening somewhere at 100%? No. Is it happening enough everywhere so that you can copy and then modify your model, make it fit yours? The answer is yes. It's all common sense stuff. Everything I'm about to show you, you already know. You just didn't know you knew it until I show you. So a lot of times, if you write a fire escape violation, where do you go and what code would you use? Anybody know what code you'd use in case you're writing a fire escape violation in your state? So that's why people don't write one. If you don't know where it is, you write something else. You want to write a fire escape violation, but because you don't know what code, you write another violation on something else, and then you mention in passing the fire escape issue at that building, right? Here's your code. Now, this is something Mike sent me, so let's read what it says. 2604, if you want to write this down, everybody got their pens out, this is what you're going to write as your violation. Basically, if you're making a new one, it's got to be made of non-combustible and it's got to be 100 pounds. But then as you read along, the fire code official is authorized to require testing or other satisfactory evidence that the fire escape meets the requirements of this paragraph. So it says the fire code official is authorized to require testing. When? Every now and then? Every 5 years? Is there any cyclical activity here that you can see? Or so if it ain't broke or you don't know about it, guess what's going to happen? It's never going to get fixed. If you're never back there looking at it, it's never going to get fixed. But who has the authority here, right off the bat, to require testing? What kind of testing? Eyeball testing? Wink testing? Send me a photograph testing? Jump up and down on it testing? What kind of testing? Well, let's take a look at the NFPA. And the safety code, if you have a reference to safety code, it's right there, 101, 7.2.8.6.2. The authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape stair that has been shown by load test or other satisfactory evidence to have adequate strength. What's that mean? So they say test in your code, but now down below they further clarify it by saying the word what? Load test. And by the way, if I build it to 100 pounds per square foot, what should the test be? 100 pounds per square foot. So if I got a 5x5 platform, that's 25 square feet, times 100 pounds per square foot. The day I build it, it's got to hold how many pounds that day? 2,500. 25 years later, how many pounds it's got to hold? 2,500. Let's do a quick thing. I did this with John yesterday. Ready? Your tables are all 4x4, right? But let's say it's about 5x5. That's 2,500 pounds, right? Your average fireman weighs 200 pounds plus 100 pounds of gear. He's 300 pounds. 5 of those firemen weigh how much? 1,500. Can I fit 5 fully outfitted with tank firemen in a 5x5 on a fire escape? And if I could, if we squeeze them all in there and I squeeze those 5, I still have room for how many more? So fire escapes are built just enough or overbuilt, over-engineered. Now let's get those firemen out because now we're getting everybody evacuating the building. So now I got a 150-pound average tenant in the building. And I bring 10 tenants out already onto this 5x5. How many pounds is that? 1,500. How many pounds can that really hold? Can I get 10 tenants in a 5x5? So is this again over-engineered for both the tenants and the firemen? So a properly installed and properly maintained fire escape, will it ever collapse if you have the entire building's occupants come out and stay on it, and you guys show up and party on it with them and get on every stair, every platform, and fill every nook and cranny of a fire escape? Will it ever collapse? Or is it over-engineered to go beyond that? It's 1,000 pounds more, so it's all fire escapes are over-engineered for that reason. Okay? It'll never come down. So when you get to a fire escape, or to a building and it's on fire, and all these people are on the fire escape and they're getting off, meaning they're getting physically off the fire escape, because the stairs works, the ladders work, what can you guys, and it has a white tag like Seattle, what do you guys want to start doing right away? Is this a rescue or is this a firefight? You're right? As long as they're getting off safely, and what do? Has a white tag, what do? Go do your job. Now the fire escape is for people to self-evacuate. It's never meant for you to use to fight the fire. It's made in case all hell breaks loose. Then what do you guys use? Then use the fire escape. Because you guys got ladders, you guys got trucks, you guys got all these ways of fighting a fire that was not to be using that. The fire escape as a means. So now let's talk about the termination. The lowest balcony should not be more than 18 feet from the ground. The fire escape stairs shall extend to the ground or provide with counterbalance stairs reaching the ground. Got it? So what's that mean? Can I have anything hanging up so many feet in the air and then people jump? All fire escapes that are incomplete must have a complete stair. That stair is either a drop ladder on a weight. We'll show you some of those. It can be a fold-out ladder, so it looks like a drain pipe when it's closed. It can be a counterbalance stair that comes down. But can it ever be just something where you jump down to the ground? So all fire escapes that are examined are going to be incomplete. And of course, fire escapes must remain unobstructed. No cans, no bicycles, no nothing in fire escape. No potted plants, no tomatoes, no barbecues. All right, let's take a look at all the 4 codes. Let's see if all the 4 codes say the same thing. So the International Fire Code says, all exterior fire escapes shall be examined or tested for structural adequacy every 5 years, and the report submitted to the fire official. Okay? The NFPA says the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. The International Fire Code says all exterior fire escape systems shall be examined and or tested, repaired, and for structural adequacy and safety in lieu of a load test. So what's that mean? So the building code, the fire code, the NFPA, they all say what? The same thing. And doesn't your code in Ohio say that you're authorized to require testing or other evidence of strength? Which means what? Is it always going to be a load test? Or can you get other evidence of strength? So other evidence of strength is what? Can I spot repair it and call that other evidence of strength? And leave behind 50 to 75-year-old bolts and rivets? But if I remove and refurbish it at this time, a fire escape. So let's go through the life of a building. Every building swaps their windows. Every 75-year-old building has swapped their windows once or twice. You agree? Has swapped all their electrical inside that building once or twice. Has swapped out all their plumbing inside that building once or twice. Has swapped out the roof once or twice in 75 years. Has, done the outside skin of the building once or twice. Have they ever did anything for the fire escape other than throw paint at it? So, on average, every fire escape, in order to meet the other evidence of strength, needs to have their bolts swapped every 25 years. That avoids the load test. So if somebody spot repairs the fire escape, what can you pull out of your back pocket because you're not confident? And I don't care if you get it from the most expensive engineering firm that says the fire escape is good, here's my opinion, it's great. What can you order immediately if there was just spot repairs and they left behind 50, 75 plus year old rivets and square head bolts that have no rust in them? But that rivet and that bolt is still 50, 75. What do you pull out of your back pocket that the four codes tell you you have the right to do? Okay. And I hear you. What you say, what do you pull out? So when somebody's trying to bully you into a situation to take a document, what do you say?
Load test.
Load test. Or give me, what's the other thing? Other evidence of strength. So can you, in conversations with any engineer, architect, or others that are acceptable to you, can you suggest strongly that they refurbish the fire escape at this time to avoid the load test? Whenever we do other evidence of strength, the average is 15 to 25 years. So now the state of Oregon, which is going through one of its final revisions, wants that to be put into the state document that says, if you refurbish your fire escape, load testing is not required for 25 years. 25 years later, you still have the 5-year inspection rule, which 25 years later is when you have to do a load test. Or at that time in 25 years, what do they recommend you do to reset the clock? Change all the fasteners. All the major fasteners. Not every little rivet on the slats, not every little rivet on the pickets. All major structural. So this is not a full refurb. So if there's a minor structural connection there that's holding a scroll, is holding a bar, and should it fail, it's not catastrophic, do you need to change that bolt? You only need to change the major structural. And the last one that only Superman can see is the X-ray between the building. What happens between this wall and the outside wall? How do you verify that? You verify that by load testing, or you verify that by opening up the inside wall and looking at the connection on the inside, or opening it up on the outside. But can I also negate it? Can I take a connection on an old building, 50, 75 years old, and right next to that connection that is buried 8 to 12 inches deep only, can I put a 3/4 epoxy bolt and just duplicate that? So instead of spending $300 to $500 to verify something inside and outside, can I just put a $75 epoxy bolt right next to it, reconnect it back to the right back to the support, and basically negate that, make it brand new? Will that satisfy you as other evidence of strength? Because now I'm at 200% of whatever that was supposed to be. So that's how you avoid the load test. So this is not a load test class. This is a class to say you have that in your pocket. You just didn't know it. Because all the four codes says the authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to accept a load test or other evidence of strength on any fire escape system. All four codes concur. This is the IFC for 2012. So let's read some of the key points here. Right now, existing exterior fire escapes require an inspection by a registered fire professional or person acceptable to fire code no more than every 5 years.
Students, please bring your groups
So
back
if you don't
to
have it on
the
your code, it's already
Thank
there.
you.
It's coming. So sometimes you can reference other codes for a suggestion of what should be a normal inspection. If not, if you don't want to wait for this code to show up, have a local ordinance that says what? In my town, what do I want? I want them inspected every 5 years. Okay? It says right here, the fire code official is authorized to require testing or other satisfactory evidence. Same thing as it says in your code. Okay? Let's take a look at down below. Neither the IBC nor IFC contain a specific definition of what actually constitutes a fire escape. And in previous editions of the code, they did not establish a frequency for their inspection.